Good morning, children. Let's move over to the second part of this lesson, An Education in Science by Stephen Hawking. Now, in the previous session, we had seen how the author was talking about developments which have been taking place since the last 100 years and will go on taking place. But there are some people who are not very happy with the developments, with the changes that were taking place in the world, and how they wanted to move back to the past, which was a happier and a purer age. But the author says that developments will take place and there is no stopping the inquiring mind, which will keep on inventing, which will keep on developing. And he says that these are going to take place even in the near future. No one can stop them. Let's move over to the second part of this lesson. At the moment, the public has a rather ambivalent attitude towards science. Here, the author is talking about the public, and he says that the public, the people, have rather a divided attitude towards science. It has come to expect the steady increase in the standard of living that new developments in science and technology have brought to continue. So, the public does expect, the public, knows that the steady increase in the standard of living is the result of new developments which have been brought about by science and technology. And it doesn't mind it to continue. Okay, it wants that to continue. But it also distrusts science because it does not understand it. So the author here says that as a result of science and technology, a lot of developments have taken place and there has been a steady increase in standard of living. So the public doesn't mind this increase in standard of living. It wants that to continue. But at the same time, it doesn't trust science because the public doesn't understand it. This distrust is shown in the cartoon character of the mad scientist working in his laboratory to produce a Frankenstein. Okay, so this distrust in science is actually shown by the cartoon character of a mad scientist. Okay, so the character of a mad scientist, which is working, who's working in his laboratory to produce a Frankenstein, actually gives you a very, clear idea of the distrust that people have towards science. But the public also has a great interest in science. On one hand, the public distrusts science because it doesn't understand. And on the other hand, it does show some interest in science because, and particularly astronomy. And this is, exemplified by the fact that there were many, people for the television series such as Cosmos and for science fiction. Now, on one hand, the author says the public distrusts science because it is not able to understand. And at the same time, especially astronomy, the public has taken a lot of interest in the science. And this is shown by, there was this television series like Cosmos, and there was, a large audience was there for this television series. And also, the public has shown interest for science fiction. What can be done to harness this interest and give the public the scientific background it needs to make informed decisions on subjects like acid rain, the greenhouse effect, nuclear weapons, and genetic engineering? So the author here says what can be done to harness this interest. So we'll have to make use of this interest, and the public needs to have some, scientific background. It needs to have some scientific knowledge to make informed decisions on subjects, because there are many subjects which the author wants the public to know, so that it can make decisions. It can take decisions on the right direction. There are many subjects like acid rain, how acid rain is caused, the greenhouse effect, the nuclear weapons, and genetic engineering. So here the author wants the public to know, you know, all these, subjects. He wants them to have knowledge about all these subjects like acid rain, the greenhouse effect. All of you children might be knowing about the greenhouse effect, nuclear weapons, the dangers of nuclear weapons, what these nuclear weapons can cause, they how they cause death and destruction, and genetic engineering. And of course, genetic engineering. Here, the author wants the public to know about all these, have knowledge about all these fields. Clearly, the basis must lie in what is taught in schools. So, the author feels everything, the foundation has to be laid in schools. The children should, the public should be taught about all this right in the schools itself. But in schools, science is often presented in a dry and uninteresting manner. According to the author, in schools, science is often, taught in a very dry and uninteresting manner. Children learn it by rote to pass examination, and they do not see its relevance to the world around them. Now, children learn it, memorize it just to pass the examination. They do not, see any sort of connection between science and the world outside. They just learn science to pass the examination. Moreover, science is often taught in terms of equations. And another thing the author pointed out was that in schools, science is often taught by way of equations. Although equations are a concise and accurate way of describing mathematical ideas, they frighten most people. Yes, indeed, is it not? Now, equations. Now, even, according to the author, he says equations are a clear and accurate way of describing mathematical ideas. Okay, but they frighten people because, it is very difficult to understand when you come to balancing of equations, etc. Many people do not understand how to do it, and they just learn it by heart without understanding why it is so. Now, even when it comes to say chemical, when you are studying chemistry, when you're learning about chemical equations, etc., the children in the schools just learn it by heart without least, understanding, what combines with what, or why or how to balance an equation, etc. Children often do not understand, and that's the reason why they memorize it. Of course, it is then that, it frightens most people. When I wrote a popular book recently, I was advised that each equation I included would halve the sales. Now, this is one reason why the author says, see, equations frighten most people, according to the author. And when he had written a popular book, he was advised by, the publishers, could be the publishers had told him that for each equation that he writes in his book, the sale of the book was going to reduce by half. I included one equation. Einstein's famous equation E is equal to mc square. So the author included just one equation in his book. That's Einstein's famous equation he had added in his book. That's E is equal to mc square. Maybe I would have sold twice as many copies without it. So the author feels he was able to sell his books, but he says if he had not included this equation, E is equal to mc square, probably he would have got twice, he would have been able to sell twice the number of copies which he would have, done if he had not included this equation. So children, I think you have understood this lesson. Let's go on to the next part where we are going to do the comprehension passage. Okay. Now, the passage I have taken from the same, here at the moment to the equation. So I've taken from here at the moment to the equations. Can you see? Now, let's move over to the questions here. Why does the public need scientific background? Now, can you see the answer here? Give the public the scientific background it needs to make informed decisions on subjects like acid, rain, the greenhouse effect, nuclear weapons, and genetic engineering. So, the answer is the public needs scientific background to make informed decisions on acid rains, greenhouse effect, nuclear weapons, and genetic engineering. Next one, how is science presented in schools according to the author Stephen Hawking? Now, look at the answer here. In schools, science is often presented in a dry and uninteresting manner. So your answer is, according to the author, Stephen Hawking, science is presented in a dry and uninteresting manner in schools. What frightens most people? Of course, the answer, all of you know, the answer is equations frighten most people. The next question, children, why do children learn science by rote? You have the answer here. Children learn it by rote to pass examinations. Next one, write the synonym or the following words from the passage. The word is steady. From the passage, we have the word gradual. Second one, viewers, it is audiences. Sixth question, science is often presented in a dry and uninteresting manner in schools. Add a question tag. Your answer, science is often presented in a dry and uninteresting manner in schools, isn't it? So children, remember, when you're writing a question tag, remember the question has to be given. Look at the question mark. Okay, that is very, very important. Do not forget that. And we've also comma. Okay, So science is often presented in a dry and uninteresting manner in schools, comma, isn't it? And then you have the question mark. So children, we have finished with the second part of this lesson. The remaining will continue in the next. Thank you, children.